Welcome back. This is really surreal being here in this theater right there. We were sitting there with Jake Gyllenhaal and Jenna Malone and James Duval in that rabbit suit. I mean, I'm not sure which row it was, but we were here in the year 2000 on a hot summer day, and Stephen Boster was lighting the rabbit, and we shot that whole sequence. It was really just calm and wonderful, and to be sitting here is pretty surreal all these years later. Yeah.
Well, since you're here, how did you end up at the Aero Theater shooting here?
Well, we shot this movie again in late summer of the year 2000, which is just insane how long ago that was. And there was a strike. There was a commercial strike, I believe, where commercials were not being filmed, and everyone wanted to stay in Los Angeles and shoot movies and television in Los Angeles because they wanted to be with their families, and there was not commercial work happening. So we had $4.5 million to make this movie, and there was pressure to go to Vancouver or go to Toronto where there's a tax credit. And our line producer was like, because of this strike, you can really get a great A-list crew who will work for cheap, and it will offset the cost of what the tax credit would have been in Canada. So we got to shoot the movie in Los Angeles, which was a huge blessing because of all the locations that you see and the actors, the acting pool of talent, and all the Harvard Westlake kids that you see in the movie. They all went to Harvard Westlake. And Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal's like high school posse were in the film. They were all like the drama teacher from Harvard Westlake was on set. Like, you cast all of my students. This is so wonderful. So yeah, it was a really magical 28 days here in the greater Los Angeles area. Donnie's house, the Darko house, is in Long Beach. Grandma Death's ranch is in Calabasas. It was all surrounding outskirts Los Angeles shooting locations.
The 4K restoration that we just saw, how did that go about happening?
Well, this film was never really maintained properly. It was not successful and not well received when it originally came out in 2001. And then the rights went to, I believe, Fox, and then there was just a sort of perfunctory transfer into DVD and then Blu-ray. And it just never looked good enough. It was not supervised, or it wasn't done with a lot of the technological tools that are allowed or permitted for bigger budget films. And so the rights, after 15 years, the contracts lapsed for the ownership of this film, and the catalog sold to a new company. It's been sold several times, so we just wanted to track down the original negative and like just take care of it and make sure it was maintained and preserved for a long time, because these movies outlive us all. You know, I'll be long gone, and people will still be watching this ridiculous movie. So we wanted to make sure we could do a great restoration with all the technological tools that are available. And Aero Films and Video out of the UK were leading the charge. They contacted me and said, "We'll pay for it, and we'll do this." And I had a window of availability because I was writing a huge project, and I'm like, all right, well, we'll get Stephen Poster, and we'll come in and we'll do this properly. And we'll restore both cuts, and we'll make something hopefully worthy of the big screen once again. And here you all are.
It's such a timeless, it's a fantastic film, but you wonder, how did this get made? Like, how did you explain to someone with what you had to follow your vision? How did this happen?
I was a stubborn little son of a bitch. I just was really adamant that it had to be this way. That it had to take place in 1988. I felt like there was a real reason for 1988, and then we were looking back at the end of the Reagan era and a lot of the cultural seismic changes that were taking place on the eve of an election, and I felt compelled that this is my debut. It was the first script I'd ever written. I had this degree from USC that my parents spent a lot of money on, and I was working, making $6 an hour at a post-production house in Hollywood, you know, serving cappuccinos to Madonna and Puff Daddy and Jennifer Lopez, and made her a cheese and cracker plate and a cappuccino, but I was terrified. I was like, I gotta do something with this film degree, and I had this script, and I'm like, this is all I have, and so I had to hold on to it, and I just had to fight really hard to do it my way and to keep the integrity of the narrative intact, you know.
How do you work when it's with this? It's so thick. I mean, there's just elements underneath elements. As you write and you're directing your own writing, are you still writing during the process? Do you create things as you go, and how do you layer what's your writing process?
Well, my dad, it's interesting that you say that. I'll reference my father. My father worked for NASA, and he used this term that I've since come to understand called scope creep. It's when the scope of your project keeps creeping outward, 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 it becomes untenable. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's my problem, is my scripts and my films just, they become like novels that I've written in my head, but I'm too lazy to actually write the novel, so I just adapt it to a screenplay. One of these days I'll write a novel, but right now you're getting a lot of screenplays that are adaptations of novels that are too lazy to write, or that no one will pay to finance. But so it's just like, they just get bigger and bigger and they burst at the seams, and you're trying to rein it all in. And so what I've learned now is to rein it in before I get on set, so I'm not just shooting hours of material that will never make it into the final cut of the movie. And you know, we have this thing called an attention span. It's getting shorter every day. And we've got, you know, a president who doesn't maybe have an attention span either, so it's where movies are getting, the theatrical experience is like they're serving a lot of alcohol now, and the art light, people are drinking now in movies because it's becoming a celebration to, you know, come to the theater. And but again, what I'm saying is that movies are the 3-hour movies, you don't see much anymore. You know, you don't see Magnolia or Shortcuts or art house films are longer in places, but you've got a limited attention span when you're in the theater, you know. So it's just trying to keep things tight, I guess.
In film now, there's a love of hyper-realism, like everything being just in everything. Even superhero films have to be very real, you know. And this is follows the nightmare dream logic in such a wonderful way, and you're speeding up time and slowing down time. Can you talk about working in that world and not, you know, people are like yelling about Stranger Things because they have like a D&D figure that isn't the correct date, you know? And this doesn't really need it because you're in your own world of 88. Can you just talk about working in non-realism?
Well, I am a stickler for timelines. All my movies take place in very specific dates. They're title cards in all my movies. You know, Donnie is obviously October of 1988. Southland Tales opens in 2005 and then flashes forward to an alternate timeline of 2008, a political fantasy or a political nightmare. And then The Box takes place in December of 1976. So my movies are always very clearly identified in terms of the timeline. I have a real obsession with that because I need to, if I'm writing a character, I need to know what world that character is responding to or is emotionally affected by. So I just need to know, where are they? Like, I have to be anchored in a date. I can never make a film that takes place in sort of like, you don't really know. You know, that's not me. I would have a panic attack. I couldn't show up on set with any degree of sincerity. Or I have to know exactly when it's happening and where it's happening. And even this is sort of a mythical version of Virginia that you see portrayed here. It's not really Virginia. It's Virginia by way of Los Angeles. But that doesn't really matter. It's 1988. And like, this election is about to fucking happen. And Dukakis is going to lose. And look where we are today. But again, these are all lessons that we try and put forth, and we try and enlighten each other with art and cinema. And again, I'll always make movies that are very specific. I just don't know how to do it any other way.
The tracking shot that happens, that where he's snorting coke, the kid's putting, someone's like holding something to his nose. And
with Seth Rogen, where he gives Alex Greenwald, yeah, that was a little touch.
Yeah, in the hallway, that amazing tracking shot. How long does it take you to design something like that shot that really opens the film really well?
That was very long, the planning stages, and the song was very designed. It was almost like a music video that we were shooting, and it was very choreographed. And that was something that was really a challenge because we did not have the rights to the song. And the producers were not happy that I was demanding to spend an entire day of our first week of principal photography shooting basically a music video sequence to a song we didn't have the rights to. And it was like over 2 to 3 minutes of screen time, and the line producer was like, Richard, you don't have the song, no one's delivering dialogue, nothing is happening, this is not even gonna make the final cut of the movie. This is ridiculous, like why are you doing it? They were furious, and I was just a stubborn little son of a bitch. And I just said, no, it's gonna be great, just trust me, we're gonna get this, we'll cut the song in and we'll show it to the band and then they'll make a deal. And that's what happened, we did it. And, but it was Steve Poster, who was my cinematographer, who really helped us design a 360-degree lighting environment in that school hallway. It's Loyola Marymount High School in kind of Koreatown area in Los Angeles, where we shot that. And it was just a really complex, choreographed thing. And then at the end of that first week of photography, I had the editors cut it together, and they put it on a tape, and we brought it to set, and I showed it to the whole crew, and they all were like, all right, it's really good. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna send it to Tears for Fears. So, but that happens. Like you have to sometimes take risks. You gotta fight, pick your battles. You know, you gotta surrender to certain fights, but you stand up and not be defeated. You know, it's not always easy. But and again, I was 25, so I was just like felt like it probably had nothing to lose or everything to lose. I would never get the chance to do this ever again. So go for it.
It's very much a political film, and then looking at it today, when I was watching it looking back, I was struck by how likable the father is, and that's a much different conservative than there is today. And I thought that actor brought so much to that part, and really it was a very touching performance. Can you just talk about some of the political thoughts as today and a little bit about the actor?
Yeah, well, that's Holmes Osborne, who's been in all 3 of my films, and he's sort of shapeshifted through the films in playing a conservative archetype. And it was important for me, again, it was a fight to keep the movie set in 1988, because this was the year 2000, and we were doing a period piece about 1988. So just to give you a little bit of context, that would be like fighting today to do a period piece about 2005. Let's do that. Let's get those 2005 period vehicles out. Costuming in place. Like, what? Like that? It's ridiculous. But at the time, 1988 and in 2000, there was a enough of a shift, a cultural shift, where we had to get the period clothes and the cars. It was manageable. It was still manageable. Now doing 88 is expensive, but it was still manageable in the year 2000, just enough where we weren't going to just sink our budget into period detail. You know, we were as very specific as we could be about it. But again, a lot of it came down to this political climate of, you know, the first line in the film is Maggie Gyllenhaal saying, "I'm voting for the caucus." You know, so you've got the younger generation who is rejecting the Reagan era policies and is fighting against what ended up being a defeat of the caucus and the election from Reagan into Bush won. But you're seeing this tidal shift between two generations, right? You're seeing a younger generation rejecting these Reagan-era policies, whether it's the war on drugs or the self-help movement that came into prominence, or you know, some of these policies that clearly were stoking a fire and a flame in a younger generation to become more liberal, I guess. And Holmes Osborne, again, he's a terrific actor. He was in an acting troupe with Tom Hanks in college, I believe. And if you watch any of Tom Hanks' films that he produces or directs, Holmes Osborne's in there somewhere. He's terrific. He's pretty funny.
I'm going to open up, I'm sure there's a bunch of questions. Right there.
I saw the movie when it came out, and as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, I saw it in October of 2001.
That's when it was released, October 26, 2001, yeah, right after 9/11.
I was going to ask you, because when I saw it with my friend, we was airplanes and shopping, we just been through 9/11. Did the release, was it affected by 9/11?
It almost got canceled. I mean, it was, we premiered at Sundance, January 2001, and the movie was horribly received. It was like the flop of Sundance. We were the first movie in competition that had CGI, and so immediately there was sort of like a oh no, coming in here with your CGI. And so it took 5 months to sell the movie. It was almost went straight to the Starz Network, or almost went straight to home video. And that's, at the time, if your movie was not released in theaters, you wouldn't get reviewed in the major newspapers. The legitimate film critics wouldn't. It would just not get that kind of legitimacy. So we fought really hard to get it a theatrical release, and it was all planned and mapped out. And then when 9/11 happened, it was just like no one wanted to even think about movies or going to see any movies. Like, movies were just like not even. People were saying that irony was dead, that comedy was dead. Like it was a catastrophic moment in all of our lives. And so it was just almost like, okay, this movie is still booked in 50 theaters. They're gonna at least just like let it, you know, play out. But again, no one was even thinking about anything other than the catastrophic thing that happened to the world.
Several films did get bumped. Barry Sonnenfeld's film, I think Big Trouble, got bumped around that time.
Yeah, I remember Zoolander came out right after and became a huge cult hit, but I think Zoolander suffered a lot. No one wanted to go to the movies. You know, people were really just shell-shocked, in every way.
Right. All the way back there.
Okay, so your movie is very clear on, mental illness at a certain period of time. Me being a Latino liberal in the heart of LA, I've in me a serious message I want to put out as a film. And so, how do you funnel that vision into the purity that is your film? That's how good it is. For example, let's say that right there when you shot the film, what was your thought process like? So you could rank up the emotion, the tension, that exact vision up to 11. So how's that process? So you can make it the best you could possibly have.
Well, making it the best I could possibly. I think you have one shot to make a film. You're on set and you're young and you've got a lot of money is being spent and there's a lot of equipment that's being rented and there's a lot of people who are on payroll and money is being spent like by the minute. And you only have this one moment to pull it off. And you just have to have your shit together. And you have to know what you want. And you have to show up every morning before anyone else, show up early, have your shot list designed, you know exactly where to put that camera at every second and every moment so you're not wasting a second of anyone's time and you're spending every one of those dollars in the best possible way to put it all on screen and realize your vision. So you just have to have your shit together and you have to be organized and you have to know what you want. And I don't know how else to say it. That's what filmmaking is. You have to know what you want and know how to deliver for people. And not waste anyone's time and not waste anyone's money, I guess.
Right there.
Hey, so as a huge fan of this movie, I really appreciate there's two versions. There's the actual one we just all enjoyed right now, which is wonderfully cryptic, you get lost in it. I can speak to a lot of it, I say I've seen it like 100 times, I'll see it 100 times more. And then your director's cut is much different, and you do a nice job of like decoding it. So thank you for that. Which one is closer to your original vision? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about why you chose to decode it in your director's cut.
Well, I mean, I thought there could be two versions. I feel like a lot of my favorite filmmakers, they have multiple versions of their movies. You know, James Cameron, there's the extended cut of Aliens, and I'm not sure which one I like better because sometimes not seeing Newt in her home world before they get taken over by the creatures, but it's cool to have both versions, and it's great to see longer versions that exist of films. I think we can have that. Like there's Apocalypse Now, Redux. I don't, seeing the French Plantation sequence is thrilling, but it's longer and it's different, So it's like I figured if I was going to do a director's cut, it would be I would put a lot more in and put more information in there that I had created, so people can at least know what was there. People have so many questions about this movie, and they ask me. So I just wanted to at least have something there, and I'm probably not satisfied with either version, to be honest, because I always look and see things I could have done differently, or more visual effects sequences, or bigger stuff I could have done if I had a bigger budget to work with, But I figured if I was going to do a director's cut, it would need to be different enough to I didn't want to just add one scene back. I figured that would be, I'll add a bunch of stuff back. It'll be longer and different, and more like novelistic and more maybe like television in ways. And then we can have both, So it was important to restore both. Again, movies are never finished. They're just a band. You just have to walk away at some point.
Is it difficult in trying to determine what cards you're going to show? Like, if you have all the answers from all your, I always think the band T-Rex, what was interesting, we sings about Telegram Sam or something, and you're like, all right, Telegram Sam, you don't know who the hell Telegram Sam is, but he's telling you he's the main man. So you just go like, all right, and you just follow this story. You're like, all right. So, as the director, with Frank and these things that you show us, is it hard to determine what specifically you should tell us or what you should hold back? You know what I mean?
That's an ongoing process because I've been doing a lot of writing for many years now because I haven't made a movie in a long time, but I've been writing a lot and I've been advancing my writing process into a new level, I hope, because as you get older and you age, you want to get better at life, you want to get better at your art, you want to age like a fine wine, and you want it to get easier, right? And you want it to be more cathartic, and so with my writing process, I try to think about suspense as like an underlying thing that drives every great story. I don't care what genre you're operating in. I hate the word genre, not the word itself, but I hate what Hollywood does to filmmakers and to actors and to anyone who works in the business. They put you in a category that they don't let you out of. right? You have to exist in a genre. It's a comedy, or no, it's like life has no genre, right? So I just try to be suspenseful, and I try to keep you on the edge of your seat, and I try and keep myself interested, because I have to look at this thing 600 times before you guys ever see it. So I just want to never get bored with my own creation. So there's a lot of layers and a lot of stuff going on that is really planned out.
Hollywood makes you want to make that X on fear or love.
Right, and that is, look at that fear and love lifeline. I feel like it's like Rotten Tomatoes. It's like fresh or rotten, or comedy or horror. You can't do both. Like, yes, you can. I mean, it's simply like Get Out. Like, people can do really provocative stuff, and so you can still surprise people, even in this day and age where we've seen it all and we're jaded and we're looking at our phones and we're, you can still, cinema is still alive and well. I believe that. Right there.
So I'm also a big fan. I've seen Donnie Darko a billion times, like everybody else has here, like my man obviously up here in the front. And I love the social nuances. I love the political saliency of the time. Great job keeping 1988. Wasn't born then, but looks like you killed it. I guess more and more I watch it, the one question that, keeps on coming back to me time and time again is, what the fuck does it mean?
Well, now that you're asking that question is I think the answer in a lot of ways, because there is no singular answer, I don't think, to any film, and if there is, maybe the film is just simplistic or meaningless, but I think it's about a boy becoming a man. I think it's about a paradigm shift and a moment in time. I think it's strangely kind of like it ended up being a 9/11 movie, even though we didn't know the 9/11 movie was going to happen, but it had this incredibly sad echo in that sense of the word. So I don't know. I mean, history judges films beyond. We'll all be long gone, and these films will still be around, and there'll be aliens staring at them at some point. But it's like I think I just try to tell this story as best I could, and it's not up for me to say what it's about. It's really up for the audience, And, I think it's a science fiction story, but others might see it differently. So I can never really answer that question. I'm sorry. And you weren't even born in 1988, so I don't care.
Is there any part of the movie when you want to know, or you're like, I don't know what that was about? Like something that you just decided on?
I'm actually, everything is there for a reason. I don't just put stuff in to be esoteric. That's not my style at all. Like even the guy in the red jogging suit, the fat guy, he's one of the FAA dudes. Like, he's there for a reason. Like, I don't put stuff in just to be, like, wacky and zany. It's generally, it follows a really detailed logic that it's like the novel that I'm too lazy to write that I adapt into the screenplay. Like, some of the stuff is just like the details from the novel that I'm too lazy to write. Right there.
Incredibly creative movie. Can you explain or tell us a little bit about how the idea first developed, how you worked it into a script, how many versions of the script you went through until you got to where you were going?
Well, so I had this degree from USC, School of Cinema and Television, and at great expense for my family, and I had all this knowledge from the community at USC, and this was the script that I felt was going to define my whole career. So I saved up 23 years writing it. I spent 23 years writing it, and then 28 days typing it. And October of 1998 when I was working serving cappuccinos to Madonna and Puff Daddy. So I was just terrified, and so I wanted to make sure I was challenging myself. And in terms of the conceit, there was a kid in my neighborhood or my community in Virginia. A piece of ice fell from the wing of a jet plane and smashed into his bedroom. And he wasn't there. He was like at school or like at soccer practice or wherever, and he survived it. But it was like what a disturbing thing to happen, to have a piece of ice plummet from the sky, from like the toilet or the wing of a jet plane, and destroy your bedroom. It was something I remembered, and it became a conceit that I thought would be a good idea for a film. And the piece of ice then became a jet engine, and the rest was just a solution process. It was like a logical, like, how do we solve this mystery in the most compelling way, I guess. So.
Where did Frank come from?
Frank, the rabbit, I will never know. I honestly will never know. It's not based on Harvey. I've still never seen Harvey, probably because of this movie. I've like refused to watch it because I did not intend to plagiarize Harvey. It came from a dream, and like a lot of the stuff that just comes from dreams, and like it has to be this way. I drew the rabbit, and all those illustrations are mine. I got an art scholarship at USC, so I was like, this is what it has to be. It has to look this way, and take it or leave it. So
You had a dream about the rabbit?
maybe at some point it was a Halloween costume. It took place in October, and then it had to be a rabbit. I don't know why. It just did. Sometimes things are just like absolute. Like this is the way it has to be. Take it or leave it. Pay for it or don't pay for it. Like, lately, there's a lot of not paying for it. Right there.
Yeah, thank you for coming and congratulations on your restoration. When I was watching this is the first time I've seen it, but it reminded me a lot of stuff my older brother that he gave me to read when I was a kid, from stuff from that era like National Lampoon, Slaughterhouse-Five, but you could also read it as a religious allegory, and he's performing miracles and casting out the hypocrites, resurrecting dead people. So what was going through your subconscious, or what influenced you growing up and in the 23-year process you're talking about of writing this?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I also have an older brother, and I remember him playing Dungeons and Dragons at our house with his friends, and me trying to get in on the Dungeons and Dragons game, and them all being like, "Fuck you, you're not doing wrong here." Me being like really heartbroken over not being allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons with my brother and his friends, and then him reading like Lord of the Rings books and Piers Anthony novels, a lot of science fiction, like me discovering my older brother's Led Zeppelin, albums, and like discovering Led Zeppelin. Every teenager has that moment where like they discovered Led Zeppelin, and it's like, holy shit, like my life has changed forever. So it was a lot of that, and a lot of like sibling, rivalry stuff that you're probably talking about too, and a lot of like reading Stephen King, like when Rose Darko, played by Mary McDonnell, the incredible actress Mary McDonnell, she's reading Stephen King's It in the opening moments, and then you see Holmes Osborne reading The Tommyknockers in bed later, so it was a lot of like formative experiences like that that made this movie in my mind over many, many years.
All the way back. Yeah, one of you guys.
Okay. When did you first realize that this movie was like becoming a classic, and that people would actually?
Well, we stumbled out of the gate at Sundance and fell flat on our face, and then we struggled to keep the movie in theaters after 9/11, and then it was April of 2002. I was walking down the street in the East Village of New York City, and I passed by the Pioneer Two Boots pizza shop, and there was a Donnie Darko poster hanging in this pizza shop. I was like, what? about it? He's like, we have a movie theater in the back. And we're showing it every Saturday night, and it's selling out at midnight. It's a midnight show. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, come by on Saturday night. I'm like, okay. And so I rolled in on Saturday night, and I expected there would be 10 people there, and it was sold out. And there were people, Michael Musto and those voice was there, and I was like, just blown away. Like, you guys are interested in watching this movie? I thought it was a failure. We just had given up on it, and people wanted to talk about it, and they wanted to engage with it aggressively, and it was really moving and kind of wonderful, and it just made me realize, like, okay, this is maybe not over yet. And then the following Halloween in London, it opened to great success with like a street art graffiti campaign and the whole deal, and so. That was the moment in the East Village, in the Pioneer 2 Boost Theater. Yeah. Right in the middle.
What advice would you give to a screenwriter who wants to create a story that can resonate with people as much as Donnie Darko?
My advice to any screenwriter would be to write every day. But don't write too much every day. Write a page, write like 10 words, but don't try to force it. Just like be patient with it, but like be consistent. It's almost like exercise. It's almost like I try to compare screenwriting to like fitness, like to lifting weights or doing cardio, not to sound super LA or shallow, but I live in LA and I'm really shallow. So, it's like treat your brain like it's your muscles, right? You're trying to build them up and make them better and prettier, right? So write every single day, but don't overdo it, and take your time with it and be strategic and like have a plan about it. And I don't know, just try to read a lot too. You have to just constantly read. Twitter makes that difficult because there's a lot of garbage out there, but that's just life. Life is filled with garbage. So just try to digest the garbage and focus on the nutritious stuff out there.
Time for a few more. Right there.
As perfectly cast as Jake Gyllenhaal is, how different would kind of the underlying pulse and heartbeat of the film been without Mary McDonnell in that role?
Oh, well, Mary McDonnell is just like extraordinary. I mean, I put her up there with Meryl Streep and some of our just greatest living actresses, and getting her in that role was just a blessing because, and really Holmes Osborne as well, and getting Maggie in there too. I think the family dynamic, that dinner table, the whole movie would have succeeded or failed based on that family being believable in that opening scene. And luckily, and I think I got to give Maggie a lot of credit too for the alchemy of the true Gyllenhaal sibling rivalry being apparent in those opening scenes, because it really created a real family dynamic. But again, Mary is just, she's incredible, and she and Holmes made this film sing. It really, I owe them everything, because without that family, the film wouldn't work at all.
Those dinner table scenes are so organic. Are they all from the script, or is there any improv at all to the film? Is that all like that?
I think it was mostly scripted. I think I always allow room for improv. I mean, when you have gifted actors and you're in the moment, always keep an open mind to improv, because you will always find discovery moments. And I think it was Mary's idea to have Rose drink wine and be kind of drunk in certain scenes. She added that. I think Holmes improv the line, you're bitching but you're not a bitch. That was all. I mean, they all came into it with ideas, and that's the best thing in the world, is when your actors feel inspired and they can actually come up with their own ideas, because it's like you're their teacher. You're like you're a parent and your children, and you want them to do their homework, and you want them to come to class well studied and well versed and having done their homework, you know. So if you've got a good script and everyone's there not because of a paycheck or for cynical reasons, they're there because it's an independent film, that they're going to show up and have their homework done. So I just got to make sure that they know that I'm competent and I know what I'm doing. And but yeah, these actors were really all on their game. They really were.
This is a ridiculous question, but where did feces means baby mice come from? That always sounds like, where?
I thought that's what it means. I mean, it doesn't mean baby mice. What does feces really mean? What?
Way back there.
What did you think of the quote-unquote sequel?
I've never seen it. I had no legal recourse to prevent them from making it. It was a nightmare. I'm tired of having to answer for it. I was not complicit in it. I don't make money off of it. And they can all go fuck themselves. Right there. My favorite movie of last year, I don't want to pick one because I don't believe in slotting rankings in number one. I loved Moonlight, I loved La La Land, I loved Hidden Figures, I loved The Neon Demon, I loved I Am Not Your Negro, which was last year. I loved a lot of the documentaries. I am just constantly encouraged by independent cinema is still alive and well, where there's still a lot of things to get excited about. You know, cinema is not dead.
So it seems like your writing, your work would be so perfect for a Netflix series or a television series. Are you still thinking cinematically, or have you also been thinking about doing something?
You know, I would love to direct like an 8-hour film. I kind of like, I'm so immersive, I can't just come in and do like the first episode of something. It's not how I work. I'm just really immersed in things, and so I would love to direct like an 8-hour film, you know. And I just saw Big Little Lies on HBO, and that's, you know, Jean-Marc Vallée, just beautiful, just like extraordinary. It was like a 7-hour film, and it was just it was David Kelly adapting a novel, and he wrote the whole thing based on a wonderful novel by Maine Moriarty, I believe. Sorry if I'm getting her name wrong. And then Jean-Marc Vallée directed the entire thing himself, and it felt like a 7-hour film. And I don't know, I see what Cary Fukunaga did with True Detective, and I see what Steven Soderbergh did with The Nick. And I see a lot of directors moving into this long-form medium. And again, I got to give credit to Judd Apatow because he nailed it. He said, people will complain when a movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes because they have to go to the bathroom. But they'll go home and they'll watch 13 hours of Breaking Bad. Because they can just wear a diaper. You know, we're conditioned now to experience things either in this wonderful community of a theater, you're all here, but had this movie been 2 hours and 40 minutes, you would be kind of pissed at me right now. Or, you know, we would be watching it separately, fiber optically or something, you know. So it's like, I think there's a long-form cinematic experience that can happen, and I'm open to it and excited about it, and there's these new streaming services that are providing for it and paying for it, and so we'll see.
Can you say what you're working on now?
I would get in a lot of trouble if I did, and I'd probably ruin it all by jinxing it. So I've learned just like to keep my mouth shut until the ink is dry. And so hopefully the ink will be dry soon. But I've been working on tons of stuff, and it's all very exciting, and I hope you'll be excited when we can finally talk about it.
That's great news. Thank you so much for coming.